Good morning. Welcome to Walking Boxing. It is Tuesday, April the 15th, 2025. And another beautiful day here in the Massachusetts Ranges. And a really good night, actually, last night with Talking Boxing. Another really good turnout for viewers and the what would you call it when people listen to you on Spotify? Whatever that's called. The hits, whatever you might want to call it, that's been really good as well. And especially even with this episode too, this series of Walking Boxing, daily daily downloads, is that what you might want to call it, have been really good as well and improving every day. So thanks to everyone that either listens to the shows, not just all the shows, and watches on YouTube as well. It's very much appreciated. And last night, I won't say it got spicy, but there was some heated discussion in the chat. And I'll go over that soon when we get to the quick review of Talking Boxing. But first of all, what happened on this day in boxing history. We'll go back to 1984 for starters. And actually one of the biggest fights we've actually had on here occurred on this day. I'll get to that in a sec. 1984 in Detroit, Michigan. The Iceman, Milton McCrory, retained his WBC welterweight title with a 6-round stoppage of Frenchman Gilles Albilia. I don't remember that fight. I remember obviously Milton McCrory, a very, very good welterweight. It all sort of come unstuck for him when he got knocked out by Donald Curry in a unification fight in 1986. But very, very good fighter, and was the brother of Steve McCrory, who fought Jeff Fennick here in Australia, and was obviously the gold medalist at the 1984 Olympics as well, and passed away a few years ago. So rest in peace to Steve McCrory. But on this day, Milton McCrory retained his title in 2018 in Japan. Christopher Rosales won the WBC flyweight title by knocking out Japanese fighter Daigo Higa in the 9th round. So that was 2018. But in 1985, one of the greatest fights of all time took place when Marvelous Marvin Hagler took on Thomas the Hitman Hearns in one of the most anticipated super fights in history. Now, Hagler had dominated the division for years. He was the undisputed champion, and Thomas Hearns coming up from 154, that unbelievable highlight reel knockout over legend Roberto Duran, one of the Four Kings. Knocked him out in the 2nd round at Caesar's Palace, I think the year before. And I think he'd had a fight in the meantime. I think he knocked out Fred Hutchins, I think his name was, in the 3rd round, in between the Duran fight and the Hagler fight. And lots of little twists and turns in this. I mean, Hearns was criticised heavily for his tactics of going out in the middle of the ring and taking Hagler on, or head on. He also received a massage on the day of the fight, and apparently Emmanuel Stewart didn't know about the massage. And if you ever, done anything on the day you've had a massage, a full-on massage, especially your legs, you'll know that you're not yourself. I find that if I get a massage and I sort of train that day, it's just not the same. You just haven't got the same oomph, I suppose you'd say, in your punches, and your legs do get a little bit rubbery if they've been massaged. So he was heavily criticised for that as well, for getting a massage without actually telling his trainer. And I think on the night too, you could really tell that his legs weren't there. And you watch a couple of times, he stumbled, he was unsteady. Hagler had a lot to do with that, by the way. But the two met in the middle of the ring in the 1st round and just went toe-to-toe, and it is widely regarded as the best round in boxing history, that 1st round. And again, Hearns was criticised for taking him on and not boxing smart in the first couple of rounds and getting a look at Hagler. Hagler actually went right against his usual fight plan as well. Hagler would normally, he would box patient, he'd switch between orthodox and southpaw, and really try and set up his opponent. But in this particular fight, he went out and went right after Hearns. Now, obviously it was a strategy, very, very risky strategy, because Hearns had that unbelievable knockout power, but apparently Hearns actually broke his hand on Hagler's head in that 1st round as well. So not much went right for the Hitman in that fight, and Hagler had his crowning glory. He'd been chasing recognition for so long, and respect in the boxing world, and he got it in that fight. And in the fight dubbed The War, he came out on top and became a legend himself. And unfortunately, the year after that, things went pear-shaped for him as well, because Sugar Ray Leonard upset his plans and defeated him over 12 rounds, also at Caesars Palace for that WBC middleweight title. So that's what happened on this day. Now, just as far as purses actually go for that fight, Hagler received $5.6 million and Hearns received $5.4 million. Now, you can imagine in this day and age, they probably both take home about 50. But back then, I suppose that was big money. So yeah, one of the great fights of all time, and of course, rest in peace now, Marvin Hagler, who passed away a few years ago as well. Also, actually on this day, just not really boxing related, but I did see it pop up in the last couple of days. The Boston Marathon bombing actually happened on April the 15th, and also there was something. Oh, and the Hillsborough disaster. The soccer stadium disaster actually happened on this day as well. So not obviously things to remember in a good way, but they actually happened on this day as well, amongst a few other things as well. So that's what happened on this day throughout history. All right, last night, talking boxing. Come here, man. And it all was going sort of pretty smoothly. The general talk about what's next for Tim. Is he going to be fighting Thurman? There was rumours that Thurman might be fighting Buckram Azalea, all these sort of things. And then it got to the talk of Canelo. And that's what sparked some really good discussion. And I always say on the channel, I've got no dramas, people disagreeing and going back and forth and debating and whatever, as long as it's done respectfully without insults and all that sort of stuff. Plenty of other channels let you do that. I don't like that. I like to have constructive boxing talk. And look, lots of people disagreeing with me on my thoughts. That's cool. Again, just do it in a respectful way. But there was a bit of chat, some adamant that Canelo, his legacy is tainted and he's a cherry picker. I strongly disagree with that. I think that Canelo, okay, the David Benavidez fight, can't really defend that, of course. But other than David Benavidez, has fought pretty much every single worthwhile fighter of his generation, of his career, going right back to about 15 years ago. So I don't really wear that Canelo's always been a cherry picker. I mean, geez, he's taken on the absolute best, and even went up to light heavyweight and fought Dimitri Bivol. So I don't really wear that, but others disagree, and that's fine. Because I think it came up about Terence Crawford. I made the mistake of doing my pound for pound. Someone asked me about Boots Ennis. Should he go in the pound for pound list? And I said, no, not yet. And I rattled off my top 10, which from memory, I'll try and remember. I had number 10, I had Tank Davis, which caused a little bit of discussion as well. Number 9, I had David Benavidez. Number 8, I had Junto Nakatani. Number 7, I had Artur Beterbiev. Number 6, I had Bam Rodriguez. Number 5, I had Terence Crawford. Number 4, I had Canelo. Number 3, I had Dimitri Bivol. Number 2, I had Naoya Inoue. And number 1, I had Alexander Usyk. And I thought the Terence Crawford choice at number 5 would really cause some heated discussion, but surprisingly, a lot of people actually agree with me. And my reasoning was more so that, look, he's had like one fight in the last nearly 2 years, and it was a very unimpressive win over Madrimov. I know the Errol Spence fight, he was on top of the world, but just hasn't done anything since then. I know he's got the Canelo fight coming up, and if he beats Canelo, well, he'll probably be in the top 2 or 3 again. But I just, the Madrimov fight wasn't that impressive. He struggled in that fight, and that's the only fight he's had in 2 years. In the meantime, Usyk, Inoue, Canelo, Bivol have all had really good wins. And numerous wins at that. So that's why I've put them in the top 4. And talent-wise, look, Crawford, obviously he's up there. But I just thought he looked a little bit jaded in his last fight, and really struggled against Madrimov. He was then beaten, I thought, pretty comprehensively by Virgil Ortiz Jr. So, look, each to their own. But then that was the main discussion, was about who had the better resume and who was the better fighter between Crawford and Canelo. I don't think you can really compare the resumes, can you? I mean, Crawford, great resume, but Canelo, I mean, geez, again, just literally cleaned out the division, or all 3 divisions he's been in. So I just don't see how Crawford sort of compares as far as resume goes, but I suppose each to their own. There was also the talk about how Thurman would go against Bakram Murtazaliev. I think Thurman would give Bakram Murtazaliev a really tough fight and maybe have a great chance of beating him. I know that Bakram Murtazaliev looked unbelievable against Tim Tszyu, but just look at his other fights before that. I think we've got to take it as a collective, not just one fight. At first view of the fight with Tim, you'd have to back Murtazaliev, but we don't know exactly. That's probably the other point. We don't know exactly what Thurman's got. I mean, he knocked out Brock Jarvis pretty easily, but Brock Jarvis isn't Murtazaliev, is he? So, and at 36 years of age, almost 37, we don't really know what Thurman's got left. So, look, based on his previous fights, I would say Thurman would have a good chance against Bakram Murtazaliev. I really do. His style, his IQ, I think he'd give Murtazaliev a lot of troubles. Now, Bakram Murtazaliev has got to get a fight soon, by the way. It's amazing that he knocked out Tim Tszyu, and Tim Tszyu's had a fight since then, and Murtazaliev hasn't. It's just bizarre. I can understand why. Very avoided fighter. He's dangerous, but doesn't have really a following. His promoters don't really do enough with him. He probably needs to leave the Duvers and maybe go to a more recognised promoter like an Eddie Hearn or an Oscar or someone like that, or else I doubt he's going to get any big this morning. Many big fights. So anyway, but apart from that, lots of things to talk about. One thing actually that was brought up as well was a possible 5-by-5 between No Limit and Tasman Fighters. Now, I think it was Tasman Fighters. Yeah, it was Tasman Fighters. Now, I think I might have done this in the past, but I just quickly wrote down a couple of fights that they could probably have. I think, and you're going to probably laugh at this first one, but he's got to fight someone. Jai Pataya needs an opponent. Now, maybe this could be a bit of a homecoming for Jai, and he could come back just for a tune-up, an in-between fight, whatever, but I'll put him in with Floyd Masson. Now, Floyd Masson, I don't think would have any chance of coming close to Jai, but he'd put on a good performance and give him a hell of a fight. So that's probably the fight I would have between those two, probably as the main event. I'd have Connor Wallace and Paulo Acuso in the co-main at light heavyweight. What a fight that would be. I'd probably have Nikita Tszyu and Ben Mahoney. I think it'd be a good fight as well at 154. You'd think Nikita would win that one. Actually, the Wallace fight, I think I'm going to back Connor Wallace. In the past, I've probably said that Acuso would beat Connor, but judging on the last couple of fights, I think I'd back Connor. Then in the other two fights, I would have Teramona up against Brendan Grush. Now, this could end very badly for Grush, considering what happened in his last fight, but geez, it'd be entertaining. He'd come to fight and he'd give Teramona all he could handle. And Teramona, by the way, is very unproven. He's just knocked out just one spot after the next. So I think Grush would give him a good fight. I think Teramona would win, but geez, it'd be a good one. They would go to town, wouldn't they? And then in the other one, morning. Then in the final fight, this will just be a bit of a prelim fight just to get the fight started. I'd have probably someone like Max McIntyre up against Blake Wells, who beat Andrei Mikhailovich last week. Now, I know that was at middleweight, but Wells has fought at super middleweight and light heavyweight. So I think Blake Wells and Max McIntyre would be a good fight to sort of get proceedings going, and I think Max McIntyre would probably win that fight. So anyway, there's just 5 I just quickly wrote down this morning. I thought, geez, I forgot I was going to talk about that today, and I rattled them off. I'll probably have to go through some of their cards and just go through their list of fighters and do it properly. But that's sort of the ones I had just to get things going. So it was Max McIntyre, Blake Wells, Teramona versus Brendan Grush, Nikita Tszyu versus Ben Mahoney, Connor Wallace, Paulo Acuso, and Jai Pataya, Floyd Masson. They're the fights I would probably have. Now, maybe you could find a spot for Justice Honey against someone. I'm not sure. Maybe put him in with a Talivaha or someone like that. I don't know. But there's just 5 fights anyway. All right, also news this morning that Hamza Shiraz has moved up to 168. Remember, his last fight with Carlos Adames, very, very lucky to get the draw with Carlos Adames. And it's gone to 168. Now, he's talking about maybe fighting Edgar Berlanga, which would be a ripper fight. But you get the impression that this is all going to be to manoeuvre Hamza Shiraz into a fight with Canelo. I did say yesterday that who is Canelo going to fight after Skull and then Crawford. especially with Benavides and Bivol and Beterbiev all sort of in their own little triangle at the moment. And Benavides talking about sort of going up. And he's actually said that he's not going to wait for Bivol or Beterbiev, by the way. He's going to have defences, or he's going to defend against either Anthony Yard, Callum Smith, or maybe that fight with Zurdo Ramirez. I think the Callum Smith fight probably makes the most sense. So I think he'll fight him. But yeah, Hamza Shiraz has said that he's going to go to 168. And as I said, you get the impression that they'll... Look, Belunga would be a very, very risky fight, make no mistake about that. But with those... with the Canelo contract being 2 more fights, and Shiraz is a favourite of Turki Al Sheikh, yeah, I think you'll be looking at probably this time next year, probably in May. I wouldn't be surprised if it's Hamza Shiraz getting the call up to fight Canelo. They'll probably give him maybe 2, maybe 3 fights before then, Hamza Shiraz, at least 2. All he's going to need really is 1 good win, and they'll pump him up and say he's going to be a great shot at beating Canelo, and then away we go. Look, end of the day, does it really matter what we think? Turki Al Sheikh's going to put Hamza Shiraz in there with Canelo, whether we like it. And I put William Scull in with him, and I know the only reason that fight's happening, of course, is the IBF belt is on the line. And someone actually asked that question last night in the argument with the Canelo and Crawford thing, is that, well, is Canelo cherry picking? He's fighting William Scull, but William Scull's got the IBF belt. I'm not sure what you sort of expect him to do. I mean, he lost the belt in stupid circumstances where the IBF just decided they'd strip him for not fighting Scull. I think everyone applauded Canelo for not fighting Scull. And now that Scull has got that IBF belt and Canelo wants it back, and of course it makes the Crawford fight even bigger, having Undisputed on the line, now he's getting criticised because he wants to fight him and get that IBF belt back. I don't know. I think he's just one of those fighters, like a Floyd Mayweather, who doesn't matter who he fights and who he beats, he's always going to be criticised. The great fighters always get that scrutiny, and that's Canelo at the moment. I think when you get to that point where it doesn't matter who you fight and who you beat, it doesn't satisfy the fans. I think it just shows that you've made it, because you're living rent-free in their head most of the time, a lot of these fighters. And I just think, along with Floyd Mayweather, Canelo Alvarez is one of the greatest fighters of all time, and nothing will ever change my mind about that. A couple of other things just to finish off. And Oscar De La Hoya did an interview the other day. We all remember the infamous lingerie and fishnet stockings photos back in the day. Now, apparently he said that he paid he was told he was paying $1 million to keep those photos out of the spotlight. And of course it didn't work because they came out anyway. Well, that's why we're talking about it. But apparently he was told by his handlers they would pay $1 million and it would go away, and it didn't. And he thought, oh, well, it's $1 million. Well, he's probably got another couple of hundred of those put aside anyway. But the lady, I can't remember, or the woman that was at the centre of the whole controversy, she has said that she was told she would be getting $20 million, but only received $1 million, which is probably why she released the photos. Now the hunt is on for the $19 million. So Oscar's handlers, who apparently took $20 million out of his account to pay this woman, but only $1 million actually made it to her account. Now there's a bit of an investigation going on about what happened to the other $19 million. This is why, guys and girls, if you are in the boxing game, make sure you get one hell of a team behind you, because all of a sudden you're being fleeced and they don't give a shit about you. They're just trying to take everything you got and then just walk away. And that's obviously what's happened with Oscar. And I think he said he'd seriously consider doing an investigation into trying to track down that $19 million. So we'll keep a lookout for that one. And one last thing, the great George Foreman was laid to rest yesterday as well. I did say that Michael Moorer, his former foe, who we won the heavyweight title off, actually spoke at the service, as did all his kids and associates and all that sort of stuff. And it sort of puts an end to the chapter of one of the greatest heavyweights of all time, and just one of the great, I think, personalities in the sporting world of all time. Just an unbelievable man, and he will be missed, but he was laid to rest yesterday. So guys, that is going to do it for today. Hope you have an awesome Tuesday, and we'll catch you tomorrow.